You know Thomas Jefferson as the author of the Declaration and the third president. These 5 foods tell his story in a way most have never heard. We'll explore Jefferson's life in 5 chapters, each told through food. These 5 dishes mark turning points in his journey, from privilege to revolution to presidency. By the end, you won't just know more about Jefferson, but you'll have 5 stories and 5 foods that bring early America vividly to life. The first recipe is roast turkey. Well, it was supposed to be, but I couldn't find a whole turkey this time of year. So I got the next best thing, which was duck. Duck was prevalent in colonial America. It was a vital protein source for both the native peoples and the European settlers. The recipe comes from Hannah Glasse's cookbook called The Art of Cookery. It's a pretty simple way to cook a duck, but I hope it's a good stand-in for the turkey, because turkey is going to be important for the story I'm going to tell about Jefferson's first triumph in the woods. Thomas Jefferson was born into the rolling hills and wooded streams of Albemarle County, Virginia. His boyhood home, Shadwell, smelled of fresh-cut timber, damp earth, and the faint tang of wood smoke drifting from the kitchen. He was only 10 when his father sent him to the forest alone, a test of grit for the young boy. The morning air was crisp, but the woods were quiet. He could not find any wild game. It seemed like his first hunt would be a failure. But then he spotted a wild turkey that had trapped itself in a pen. Thinking quickly, Jefferson slipped off his garter, looped it around the bird's neck, and secured his prize to a tree. He took careful aim, fired, and proudly carried the turkey home to show his father. That evening, the kitchen filled with the rich scent of roasted turkey, a meal that marked the boy's first taste of victory, and it revealed his calm under pressure and decisive action. Traits that would define his leadership for decades. Well, I'm ready to gobble this up.
It's not a turkey.
The duck looks pretty good.
Duck is good.
Duck is good. Wow. The grit and self-reliance Jefferson learned in the woods, he would take to the classroom, where his mind, not his aim, would be tested. Pew pew. The second food is Colonial Spoonbread. For Jefferson, this likely sustained him through his years at college. Spoonbread was a common food at Virginia at the time. It's a blending of British-style steamed puddings with more indigenous grains, like corn. The name spoonbread comes from how it's made, giving it a creamy texture and requiring it to be eaten with a spoon rather than sliced like traditional bread. So Jefferson was away at college during this chapter of his life and probably ate spoonbread quite often. So let me tell you the story of how he sharpened his mind yet nearly broke his health, while I make Colonial Spoonbread. By age 16, Jefferson was enrolled at the College of William and Mary, surrounded by the hum of colonial life in Williamsburg. Songs and the scent of ale drifted from the local taverns, but Jefferson rarely lingered there. He spent up to 15 hours a day studying, often walking the streets with a book in his hand. He devoured classical literature, law, philosophy, mathematics. Music was another discipline. He practiced the violin daily, believing it sharpened his mind. His sharp mind and work ethic impressed the professors like Dr. William Small, who became a mentor and opened doors to a wider world. Through Small, Jefferson absorbed Enlightenment ideals of reason and liberty, learned how to apply them to law and politics, and was introduced to Virginia's most powerful figures, connections that would shape his career for decades. But the pace came at a cost. Jefferson later admitted that his work took a toll on his health. Even so, this bowl of spoonbread represents fuel for a mind determined to master the world of ideas so that he might change the world. I wanted to come up with a corny transition. Oh, wow.
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 Yep. That's good.
This would totally help me make it through college.
It's like glorified cornbread.
That's like way better than cornbread.
It's like cornbread pudding.
Have you ever had cream corn? Kind of tastes like a cream corn cake or something. Jefferson learned a lot when he was at college, but the revolution would soon demand a new skill: what to do when the enemy's at your door. The third food is deer stew. For Jefferson, it represents the most difficult times during the Revolution. Deer stew was common because deer was abundant throughout the colony. It was especially helpful while on the run because it's not a meat source you'd have to carry. let me tell you the story of how Jefferson had to run away from British troops twice while I make this deer stew. In January 1781, British forces under Benedict Arnold marched swiftly to Richmond, catching the city off guard. Jefferson, as governor, watched the chaos unfold. Warehouses set ablaze, militia units scattering in confusion, and the state's leadership suddenly under direct threat. With the British troops closing in, he made the hard choice to abandon the capital, to preserve his safety, and to keep the government functioning elsewhere. But the risk was not over. Months later, at Monticello, the threat returned. The British cavalry under Bernastre Tarleton advanced up the mountain. Jefferson escaped minutes before they arrived. It was a moment heavy with risk and humiliation, one he would have to answer for. The Virginia legislature launched a formal inquiry into his conduct. Jefferson defended himself vigorously, citing the overwhelming size of the British force, the lack of adequate militia to mount a defense, the need to safeguard the seat of government rather than risk capture. In the end, he was cleared of any wrongdoing, but the political damage was done. His critics seized on the moment to brand him as hesitant in the face of danger, and the perception stuck. His term as governor closed under a cloud of doubt, and the sting of which would carry for years. This deer stew was a way to stretch scarce provisions during the war. For Jefferson, the stew symbolized the harsh reality that winning a revolution depended on the willingness to do what was necessary to endure. I've never had a stew with walnuts, but that was in the original 18th century recipe.
Is that tomato?
No, it's a beet. It said wild vegetables
beet
was in the recipe, and that was one of the wild vegetables we had. It smells really good though.
Oh, the walnut is really soft. Actually reminds me of chestnuts.
My medicine is amazing. I think the wine and the slow cooking really tenderized it. It's super tender, lots of flavor. For Jefferson, this political defeat did not end his career, but it took him across the Atlantic to a place of fine dining but violent revolution. The fourth food is pomme de terre frites. I probably really butchered that French, but it's an early potato chip Thomas Jefferson brought back from France from his time as U.S. ambassador. But it wasn't the only thing he brought back. In 1784, Jefferson was chosen to succeed Benjamin Franklin as U.S. minister to France. He attended sessions of the French National Assembly, met leading thinkers of the Enlightenment, and observed firsthand the political debates that were reshaping Europe. In private life, he explored the art of French cooking, not only tasting but learning techniques from chefs, noting ingredients, collecting recipes. At elegant dinners, golden fries appeared alongside roasted meats and delicate sauces, a refinement far beyond what he had known in Virginia. But France was in turmoil. Jefferson was in Paris on July 14, 1789, as Parisians stormed the Bastille. The air was thick with smoke, shouts, and the crack of musket fire. In the tense days that followed, he watched the streets churn with unrest, the hopeful rhetoric of liberty giving way to mob violence. He believed in liberty, but saw what happens when revolutions lose their moral compass. When he returned to America, he brought back the love of French food, such as these pomme de terre frites. But he also carried the pain of seeing a revolution turn from liberty to brutality. Now, to see if these chips are brutal, my wife will try them. It's a little harder to make chips than I realized.
They look a little dark.
Oh, it's burnt. At least it still tastes like a potato.
I'm done.
Jefferson not only expanded his palate in France, what he learned there prepared him for the biggest gamble of his presidency. The fifth food is floating island. For Thomas Jefferson, it represents the growing and maturing of America under his leadership. Floating island is a fancy dessert that was created by the French in the 17th century. It got popular in the rest of Europe and in the Americas during the 18th century. Jefferson would have enjoyed it while celebrating his greatest triumph. So let me tell you the story of how Jefferson out-negotiated Napoleon while I make floating island. Napoleon, facing a renewed war with Britain and reeling from France's costly losses in Haiti's revolution, decided to give up on North America. Rather than risk losing Louisiana to Britain, sold it to the United States for $15 million, a bargain that reshaped the continent. Jefferson's years in France had prepared him for this moment. He knew French politics, understood the importance of New Orleans and the Mississippi, and he had trusted contacts like Pierre Samuel Dupont to quietly open negotiations with Napoleon. Even with doubts about the constitutionality, Jefferson didn't hesitate. In 1803, he signed the Louisiana Purchase, doubling the country's size overnight. He even personally trained Meriwether Lewis in science, geography, and navigation before sending him and William Clark west. Their expedition mapped thousands of miles, recording hundreds of species, and secured America's claim to its new frontier. Floating Island, simple ingredients, layered and refined, is a symbol of Jefferson's presidency. By the time he left his office, the United States was bigger, stronger, and more confident.
Wow. What in the world is this?
It's a celebratory dessert.
This is gonna overflow.
Yeah, it's gonna be a bit messy, probably.
Okay.
But the best desserts are messy. It's like I want to get down to the bread. Wow. There's a lot of whipped cream on that one. Really good. Kind of tastes like this, when you had a school lunch and a peanut butter and jelly sandwich and kind of got squished in your lunchbox. So all that was left was like the jam squished through the bread.
Don't ruin the dessert for me. This tasted good.
This tastes better than that. But the bread with the jam really almost becomes like cake. This is an epic way to celebrate America doubling its size. Christina, there's a final twist to the story of Thomas Jefferson.
Uh-oh.
He died 50 years to the day of the Declaration of Independence. He died on July 4th, 1826, which is 50 years exactly.
Wow.
Now that you've seen Jefferson's life in 5 foods, what about the founder who went from orphan to president? Click here to watch Washington's life in 5 foods.